On the outer rim planet of Yabana, the Jedi Knight Anakin Skywalker and his master Obi-Wan Kenobi have just completed a victory over Separatist forces when they receive an unexpected transmission from Admiral Yularen. They suspect it to be Saw Gerrera and Onderon, but the Admiral tells them only to get back to the ship. What they saw on the holoprojector brought the Jedi to a stunned silence. The Togruta Ahsoka Tano stood alongside the Mandalorian Lady Bo Katan and asked for help in capturing the former Sith Lord Darth Maul. The Jedi consider their offer, but Obi-Wan is surprisingly reluctant, given his past encounters with the Zabrak. After landing on Yularen's Star Destroyer, they meet to discuss what to do. Again, Obi-Wan is conflicted. Whilst he understands the position of Bo Katan, he refused to let his feelings get in the way. This ultimately leads to the Jedi choosing Coruscant and the Chancellor over Mandalore. But what if Anakin and Obi-Wan went to Mandalore? What if they had chosen to help Ahsoka? What would happen to Palpatine? Would Dooku still fall aboard the Invisible Hand? As you're about to see, a lot changes. Looking at the newly decorated helmet design of Captain Rex's clones, Ahsoka is grateful for the gesture, but could sense some unease from Anakin. She knew that the Council was going to deny her request. Suddenly, the alarms go off, and Obi-Wan sprints back into the hangar, telling them they were going into hyperspace and prepare for a Republic attack. Ahsoka folds her arms in annoyance. So she had been right after all. The Jedi were prioritising politics over what really mattered. If her time with the Martez sisters had taught her anything, it was that the Jedi were not who the galaxy wanted them to be. But Obi-Wan, in a move as surprising as Ahsoka's reappearance, finally puts his foot down and ignored the Council. The bearded Jedi Master had enough of Maul and enough of the situation on Mandalore. It was time for the Zabrak to pay for Satine. For the second time that day, Anakin is reduced to silence. Ahsoka takes the box that Anakin had been meaning to give to her from his hands, revealing her new lightsabers. Obi-Wan can only smile at Anakin and mutters into his comlink the Master Windu will have to go instead, leaving Yoda to protect the core of Coruscant, and switched off the transmission before a reply. Jumping onto a low-altitude assault carrier alongside the whole of the 501st, Bo Katan lays down the plans to take Mandalore, despite the threats of Prime Minister Almec. As they head down, the group are surrounded by Mandalorian warriors, and find the carriers getting hit by missiles. The clones head down with their jetpacks, whilst the Jedi make their own way down. Landing on the surface, the Jedi began to dispose of the warriors, splitting up into teams before reconvening in their pursuit of Maul. Obi-Wan wants to be patient, knowing that Maul would seek him, but Bo Katan does not have time. Again, they decide to split up, with Obi-Wan and Anakin heading to the tunnels below, whilst Ahsoka stayed on the surface with most of their clones. In the tunnels, Obi-Wan could sense that this was the place to be. The darkness of Maul, darker than the tunnels themselves. They did not have to walk far. Maul's eyes were balls of yellow light as he ignited both sides of his blade. Obi-Wan had told Anakin all about the Zabrak, and sure enough, Maul attacked first, before slowly backing off, allowing the battle to take place in a large expanse. Maul had not expected the presence of Anakin, but the rumours of him being a formidable adversary were being proven. Maul was constantly using one end of his lightsaber to keep Obi-Wan at bay, and the other to stop Anakin's powerful attacks. Soon though, the Sith Lord was outmatched. From behind the Sith Lord, a missile was immediately pointed to the roof, and the combatants rolled to the sides. Now Maul and the Jedi were separated by rubble. Obi-Wan is the first to recover, and leaps to the top of the rubble, shortly followed by Anakin. Maul is the slowest to rise, his artificial legs inhibiting his movement slightly, but he needed to take this chance to finish Obi-Wan once and for all. Summoning all of his hatred, he leapt into the air and attempted a flying kick at Obi-Wan, but he looked down and found himself dismembered in 4 sections. The combination of Anakin's horizontal strike and Obi-Wan's vertical strike finally ending the renegade Sith Lord's existence. A brief pause dropped over the room, only disturbed by the humming of the 2 active lightsabers before the Mandalorian warriors began to fire. Anakin and Obi-Wan get back behind the rubble and force push into the direction of the warriors, but their armour absorbs most of the damage. They had no choice but to face them head on. Moving around opposing sides of the debris, the Jedi begin to take charge, firstly disarming them and then slashing their torsos. Behind the warriors, Ahsoka, Bo Katan and the clones had joined in with the fun, resulting in a quick victory. There is no time for a celebration however, as there is an incoming transmission from an extremely annoyed Grandmaster Yoda. Master Windu had managed to free Palpatine, but there was no sign of Dooku. Obi-Wan had a bad feeling about this. Obi-Wan and Anakin and the clones move out, but Ahsoka is conflicted. She had absolutely no desire to return to the Jedi. Bo Katan reminds her that her work here is done, and what she had been doing with the pikes was far worse than what the Jedi could throw at her. But Bo Katan didn't understand. She will not leave him this time. Dashing back to Coruscant, they find that Grievous has retreated, and are told to immediately report back to the Jedi Council. Anakin and Obi-Wan jump off of the ship, but Ahsoka stood there, as if in quicksand. She would not go to the Jedi Temple. Not only was she no longer a Jedi, but her previous memories were of betrayal and loss. Obi-Wan attempts to convince her to join them, claiming it was her initial request that led them here, but Anakin interrupts. She was his Padawan after all. Anakin tells her to go get some rest, and whispers to her to head to Padme's apartment, where he had a role for her. If she would not be part of the Jedi, Anakin was going to ensure she was part of the family. Anakin and Obi-Wan head to the Jedi Council, where they look at the Jedi with stern faces. Their direct disobedience of orders could have scuppered the old battle. Anakin would never admit it to her, but Ahsoka had been right. The Jedi had confused their role for politics. Beside him, Obi-Wan thought the same thing. The experience on Mandalore made him realise there was much more to the war than just defeating Dooku. Their every action influenced the lives of innocent civilians. The Jedi Council quickly deliberate the decision, and decide that Obi-Wan and Anakin are far too valuable to be expelled. The duo leave the council chambers when Anakin gets a message from the Chancellor's office. Anakin heads off, the words of Ahsoka in his mind. The Chancellor needed them, not the people of Coruscant. Palpatine is pleased to see Anakin, but was surprised they had sent Master Windu for him instead of Anakin. It seemed Dooku would get to live a little longer than expected. After displaying his distrust in the Jedi Council, Palpatine asks Anakin to be his representative on the Jedi Council. Anakin hesitates. It had been his dream to have a seat on the council, but Ahsoka's words continue to gnaw at him. He will need time to decide on a potentially life-changing move. Bidding farewell to the Chancellor, he failed to notice the annoyed look on the old man's face as he rushed back to Padme's apartment. Padme, Ahsoka and Anakin discussed what happened at Chancellor's office, with Ahsoka quick to push Anakin that this was abnormal behaviour for Palpatine. Padme agrees, the latest provisions of emergency powers for Palpatine influencing her opinion. Anakin heads back to the council, and to their surprise, he declines a place on the council, at least until the war is over, saving Windu the trouble of denying Anakin the rank of Master. There was still Dooku and Grievous to deal with. With Dooku still in the open, Yoda can no longer go to Kashyyyk, leaving Luke and Lara to defend the Wookiees. Later that evening, Anakin awakens to the nightmares of Padme, but Ahsoka is able to help him through them, as she stayed the night with them, and warns him that his visions can merely be an illusion. The following day, Palpatine summons Anakin to the galaxy's Opera House, and begins the conversation by telling him the clones have located Grievous on Utapau. Anakin's internal alarms go off. How would Palpatine have been informed of this so quickly? Anakin excused himself for a moment, and immediately contacted Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan had not known this either, but headed to Utapau with Yoda. Now back with Palpatine, Anakin shared his distrust with the Jedi, but was careful not to share suspicions about him. Palpatine could sense Anakin's hesitancy as well, and chose not to divulge the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise for now. After the meeting, Anakin heads back to the Jedi Council chambers, and on the way, bumps into Obi-Wan and Yoda, who secretly share suspicions about the Chancellor. Bidding farewell, Anakin tells Ahsoka to be prepared, and goes to Master Windu. For once, Master Windu and Anakin are on the same wavelength, and together go to arrest Palpatine, leaving the other council members to protect the temple. Windu is the first to enter into Palpatine's office, with Anakin close behind. Igniting their blades, Palpatine raises his hands in surrender, before launching Force Signing in Anakin. Anakin feels the full impact of the blast, and falling to the floor, and tells Ahsoka that he may need some assistance. What use his Padawan would be against a Sith Lord, Anakin wasn't sure, but she would come up with something. She always did. Anakin could still feel the pain from Palpatine's attack, but resisted it to get up. His eyes still slightly blurred. He could sense Windu and Palpatine were well matched, with purple and red bloods at the forefront of his vision. Seeing Anakin get up, however, distracts Master Windu, and the Karun Master is sent into the window with a well-aimed kick to the stomach, the window breaking upon impact with Windu's wayward blade. Now Anakin takes his turn. Although his vision had now returned, it didn't reveal much, as Palpatine's speed left Anakin in an uncomfortable defensive position. This was far beyond Dooku, or any other combatant he had encountered. Anakin leapt onto the desk, hoping to use the tactic he had done against Maul earlier, but Palpatine was wise to it, and jumped on the other end of the desk. Just then, Anakin could sense something familiar, but the Force told him to keep fighting, and he managed to gain a moment of separation from a Saberlock. But one moment, he saw Palpatine. The next was a speeder bike, piloted by Ahsoka. Anakin couldn't be anything but proud of that moment, as he looked at the remnants of Palpatine. Helping Mace Windu to his feet, he is surprised to see Ahsoka, but an incoming transmission from Utapau cuts them off. Obi-Wan and Yoda managed to overcome Grievous and Dooku with the aid of the clones, as well as Shaak Ti, who had escaped the grasp of Grievous to help them. Anakin told Obi-Wan they would see him soon, before heading back to Padme's apartment with Ahsoka. After all, they were always better off working together. That is it for What If Anakin and Obi-Wan Went to Mandalore. If you enjoyed this, please like this video, and if you're new to this channel, and my other channel, subscribe for more tips. And as always, Leave a comment on what if you'd like to see next, and how I can improve my videos. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.